Do you own an AC? Well, congratulations, because according to government, you're as rich as Ambani as you pay 28% GST on it because it's considered as a luxury item. Also, have you noticed how everything around us is becoming so expensive? Vegetables like tomatoes and onions, which used to be cheaper, are now being sold at 100 rupees per kilogram. Milk prices are going up every month. And fruits, considered so costly that it feels like a luxury. Food inflation has gone up to 11% this year, but are our salaries are also growing the same rate? Sadly, no. The FDs are not even giving enough returns for us to cope up with the expenses. Most of us, we don't even know when our salaries are getting credited and when it is getting vanished.
The RBI expected India's economy to grow by 7.2% in this financial year. That forecast is cut to 6.6%.
बच्चे के दूध पे टैक्स लगाते हो, आटा दाल चावल पे टैक्स लगाते हो, हिंदुस्तान के गरीब आदमी का खून चूसने का काम करते हो।
As if inflation was not enough, the taxes are making it even more worse. This year, middle class people have paid more in income tax than the big companies that paid in the corporate taxes. Just think about it. First, you lose 30% of your salary income to taxes. And then when you buy everyday items, you have to pay GST for it. And if you try to save something, that is also being taxed. The GST was introduced with an idea of one nation, one tax, but by 2024, it's causing confusion. The recent decision of GST Council made the things even more complicated. A non-branded popcorn is taxed at 5%, while the branded popcorn is taxed at 12%, but the caramel popcorn is taxed at 18%.
पॉपकॉर्न का ट्रीटमेंट में जब तक वो नमकीन है, सॉल्टेड है, मसाला एडेड है, चटपटा मसाला है, चिली पाउडर है, कुछ हो, सब 5% है, राइट? 5%. But then it has added caramelized sugar, it is born on the नमकीन. इसीलिए उसका रेट अलग है.
Even the products like coconut oil is facing the similar issue. The edible coconut oil is taxed at 5%, while if it is labeled as a hair oil, then it's taxed at 18%. Even the frozen food is facing the similar issues. While the frozen roti is taxed at 5%, the frozen paratha, which is made from the same wheat, is taxed at 18%. The World Bank has pointed out that many GST rates like 5%, 12%, 18% and 28% is making it difficult for the businesses, especially the smaller ones, to keep up with the rules. And even after paying so much tax, what do we get in return? Our cities are full of gas chambers with polluted air everywhere, and there's a scarcity of water. And even if by chance you get a water, it's not even fit for drinking or wash your clothes without even proper filtration. And the food is full of adulteration. The government schools lack proper facilities, and the government hospitals are always overcrowded. The basic facilities or the service that we get does not match with the tax burden that we carry. The only thing that is increasing are the taxes and the inflation, and the life of the middle class is getting tougher day by day. The Reserve Bank of India predicted that India's economy would grow by 7.2% this year, but now they have reduced it to 6.6%. Inflation is higher than expected too, and the urban consumption is dropping fast. Buying a house is like out of reach these days, and even the renting is becoming expensive in the cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad and Bengaluru, where the rents are growing up to 15 to 20% in just a year. One way to calculate the GDP is to divide our economy into different parts and then to see how much each part has spent. For example, the first part is the private consumption. This is to see how much the citizens have spent. And the second part is to see how much the government has spent, like paying the salaries. And the third part is to see how much investments have been made, whether by the government or the private sector. And the fourth part is the net exports, which is the value of exports minus the value of imports. Private consumption makes up the largest part of India's GDP, but the problem is it's not growing. In the last quarter, it grew by 6% compared to the 7.4% in the earlier quarter. Take the car industry for example. The companies like Maruti Suzuki, Hyundai and Honda are throwing a big discount because people are not buying it. And the dealerships, which is worth 70,000 crores, cars are sitting idle in the showrooms because they are not sold. And it's not just the cars. Everyday items like soaps, toothpaste and biscuits are also struggling to find the buyer. Even Hindustan Unilever, one of the biggest companies, saw their profits drop by 4% last quarter. So why people are not spending? There are two big reasons to it. And the first one is rising prices. Food inflation have hit a 5-year high with vegetables, fruits and milk prices going up. and even the cooking oil have become costlier because of its high import duties. And the second point is the stagnant income. A survey from Ministry of Statistics have shown that most of the salaried employees have not seen a real raise in the past 6 years. And according to periodic label force survey, average income for an Indian rural worker has decreased from 9,000 to 8,842. Because salaries are not increasing, people are also not spending much, and companies are cutting back on the investment. This means less jobs and even lesser salaries, and this cycle keeps repeating. Many households are now surviving on the EMIs, and most of their income goes on paying on these loan payments. So they barely have anything else left to spend on other things. So what needs to change? To boost the economy, the government could lower the income tax, reduce the GST, or could cut down the prices of petrol and diesel. Without such steps, making India a developed nation by 2047 would remain as dreams. Did you know that the 50% of the price of petrol and diesel are just taxes? The government collects this money from us, central and the state government. And when we buy a car or a bike, we also pay a lot of tax, including the road tax. But even after all this money, the roads and the bridges fail with just one heavy rainfall. Although India ranks among the top 10 countries with the most richest people, these billionaires are spending billions on their weddings and luxuries. But guess what? For the last 5 years, the highest taxpayer has not been a businessman. It's been a movie star. For the first time in 2023 and 24, the personal tax income was much more higher than the corporate tax. This means more burden on the regular people with the tax. And if you're a salaried employee and you miss a tax deadline, you will be flooded with a lot of notices and penalties. But there is also a parallel economy in India where most of them don't pay taxes at all. And there are so many people who find loopholes to escape from paying this tax. But the real question is, where does all our tax money go? The government collects the extra cess and surcharges from us by telling that they'll improve the quality of education and healthcare. But look around, government hospitals often overcrowded and the patients don't even get a basic care. And government schools don't have a proper classroom, they don't have a good books nor a good teachers. Taxes are also supposed to reduce the wealth inequality, meaning the rich are supposed to pay more so that the poor can have the better facilities. But in reality, India is one of the most unequal countries in the world. And during the election, political parties often end up spending crores on their campaigns. And they promise the freebies, loan waivers, and also a big infrastructure. But do you know who end up paying for all these promises? We do, the taxpayers. Do you know who actually pays taxes in India? This part will definitely shock you. Out of 8 crore tax filers, only about 1 to 2% of the population actually pays the tax. That means a very small group of people are actually carrying the tax burden, while many of them don't pay anything at all. Since India's population is so large, it is not easy to provide a quality facilities for everyone. However, the government still needs to focus on supporting the middle class and the lower middle class families. While everyone were being promised with the freebies and infrastructure development, are these really happening? Are all the schemes going to the people who really need them? Are these promises being fulfilled? Are they bringing any changes in their lives? These are the issues that needs to be addressed. India's tax system has some serious problems, like very few people pay the tax and most of them find a loopholes to escape from it. And businesses and riches must be held accountable to pay their fair share. And the government must use the tax money to improve the public services like healthcare, education and infrastructure. At the same time, taxes must be simpler and fairer, so people must feel like we are getting something in return from our hard-earned money. Well, in my opinion, middle class works the hardest but gets very least in return and also has a heavy tax burden that still needs to be addressed. Anyway, these are just my thoughts based on my research, and also, of course, I'm not an expert in this, but if we start a conversation around these areas, maybe we can push and expect a change that we all need, right? So what are your thoughts on these issues? Please do let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to share this video and also subscribe to our channel for more such unfiltered talks. And thanks for watching till the end.